Namaskar, hello and a very warm welcome viewers. You're watching this special presentation of Sansad TV, Samvaad, with your host Kriti Mishra. And joining us today is a very special guest, Union Law and Justice Minister, Mr. Kiren Rijiju. Sir, welcome to Sansad TV and thank you so much for joining us. Let's address the biggest issue right now. There's a raging debate in the country on the doctrine of separation of powers, judiciary, executive, legislature, harmonious relationship between three organs of the government and democracy. Now, sir, you've gone on record on several occasions and said that government has no intention on encroaching upon the rights of the judiciary or intervening. Sir, but several quarters of media have reported otherwise. How would you assuage all the concerns today?
One need not go into unnecessary propaganda or some kind of campaign being launched by some vested interest group. You just have to look at the system from the pure academic angle. There is no step whatsoever from the government side which will show that it has any interest in getting into the domain which is exclusively reserved for the judiciary. The Constitution of India is very clear. The demarcation between the judiciary, executive and the legislature is absolutely clear, and there is no reason to make any kind of an accusation against the government, because I have stated in many occasions that there was only once where the executive tried to take over the power of the judiciary. That was in 1975 when emergency was imposed. There were subsequently 2-3 occasions where government tried to move into certain directions which can be termed as undermining the authority of the judiciary. That is when government, then I am talking about the Congress government, when mass transfer of the judges were carried out, and the seniorities in the judiciary were overlooked, and top judge in the Supreme Court was superseded by the juniors. In fact, the junior judge superseded 3 senior most judges. So these were some of the incidents which did take place, but in the past, not now. So if anybody want to accuse, if anybody has any kind of a comment to be passed adversely, it should be against then Congress government. That is long time back. In the present time, there is no clue, no reason, no substance whatsoever where you can accuse the present government of undermining the Indian judiciary. Not at all.
But sir, there's also the concern on finalization of memorandum of procedure.
The problem is, right now for the appointment of the judges,
yes,
which is known as the collegium system, that is an issue where we are talking about, or the matter is being mentioned about quite regularly. Now, before talking about the collegium system, let me make things very, very crystally clear. This tussle or these differences should not be termed as confrontation, because this is nothing to do with judicial order or judicial functioning. This is totally administrative in nature. Courts are independent, and judicial pronouncements which come from the various levels of the courts like Supreme Court, High Court or lower judiciary, everybody respects it. There is nobody who says that he will not obey the court order. So some people might just mix up the whole thing. They might say that there is a difference between government and the judiciary about the appointment of judges. That is administrative. That difference is different. That is nothing to do with judicial functioning. So here I want to say, when the Supreme Court Constitution Bench struck down the NJAC in 2015, in the same order, Supreme Court Constitution Bench had given a direction that the MOP, which is the procedure to appoint the judges, must be revoked must be given a new shape. There must be improvement in the MOP itself. So, that is a direction given by the Constitution bench. So, based on the direction of the Supreme Court Constitution bench, we took certain steps. Now, as recent as in the month of January, we have sent certain suggestions to the Supreme Court Collegium. Now, the ball is in their court. I have sent it and I am yet to receive any concrete response, and this is completely as per the direction of the Constitution bench, and we are duty bound to follow the Supreme Court order. So, besides that, the Constitution provision also makes it very clear that how the judges of the Supreme Court and the High Courts are to be appointed. We are not going to take over the roles which are meant for the judiciary, nothing like that. It is absolutely administrative in nature, and we are following the Supreme Court direction only, and I hope till the collegium system exists, the collegium will respond to the government's proposal which has been sent earlier 3 times already.
But sir, lawmaking is the sole prerogative of Parliament of India. So, do we see a fresh version of the NJAC bill in times to come?
I can't talk about what action we are likely to take in the future, because everything passes through consultation, discussions, and taking into stride various issues at hand. Now, what I want to say is, prerogative of making laws definitely lies with the Parliament. Many people also talk about the supremacy of Parliament, supremacy of the court, or supremacy of the executive. These are totally different in different topics. For example, to make laws, the supremacy of Parliament cannot be challenged.
That's true.
For adjudication, for giving a certain kind of interpretation of a certain act or law, it is at the domain of the judiciary. The courts will interpret the laws. The government will implement it in a way. Legislature makes the law, government implements, and the judiciary interprets it, whether it's legally correct or not. So, if we all remain in our domain, let the Parliament and assemblies make the laws, let the government implement those laws, let the judiciary scrutinize whether those implementation are as per the law which is being passed by the Parliament or assemblies. So, if everybody remains in their own domain, there is nothing called any kind of differences or confrontation. It's absolutely clear. For example, if government starts giving adjudication or starts giving the verdict, which is totally the court's duty, then that will be an amount to encroaching into the judicial territory. In a similar fashion, if the court started, any court started following the Parliament's role by making policies or framing different new rules or laws, that will be encroaching into the territory of the legislature. So, one must be very mindful of one's own given mandate as per the provisions of the Constitution of India. So, the Constitution of India is supreme. Nobody is supreme. Constitution is supreme. And I have already defined, supremacy of law, supremacy of making law will be with the Parliament.
Absolutely, sir. Basically, you are enunciating on separation of powers between these 3 organs. But so 2 very specific issues are raised, which are very topical also. Same-sex marriage. Now, the government has said that it is the domain of the legislature. It is an urban elitist concept. Where do we go ahead from here?
First of all, Kriti, let me make it very clear. It is not only government's stand per se.
Yes, sir.
It is the stand of the executive.
That's right.
Now, we feel that marriage is an institution based on long traditions, customs and practices. People of the country will determine how their social institutions are to be governed. So, people through their elected representatives, means parliament or assembly, they are to deliberate on this important matter. It cannot be decided by some group of people in their own wisdom. I cannot undermine the authority of the Supreme Court, and I have full respect for all the honorable judges. But this is not a matter which can be decided by a group of judges. This is a serious matter which must be reflected in the parliament, which is actually the reflection of the will of the people. It must be deliberated upon, because various social organizations, cultural bodies, they will also have many things to say. They will also have some kind of influence on their elected representatives, MPs and MLAs. So, I feel that not it is a question of our government, but for the executive itself, this stand is taken only to ensure that a critical issue like same-sex marriage must be decided in the parliament itself, or also it must be debated in the assemblies also.
Sir, before I talk about your constituency, Arunachal Pradesh, your state, last question on judiciary, of course, the pendency of cases. 21 judges per million people. The pendency has crossed the 5 crore mark in the entire judicial system of our country. So, this debate has been on for quite some time, but what are the tangible solutions?
See, first of all, this raging issue of the pendency has been a major issue for all of us. It's a great cause of concern. But there is no magical method to reduce the pendency. We have to take certain concrete action. Foremost thing which is there in our mind is the technological solution. If we apply various technological things which are available right now, we can really speed up. For example, one case drags on for years. Why? For the want of proper investigation, for the want of evidences, for the availability of the dates with the courts are very limited. Now, if one party is ready, another party is absent, the absence of witnesses, bunching of the cases, then sometimes the advocates themselves, they seek time. So, each case drags on for years and years. Sometimes the judges don't have time for the particular case. So, it's not one particular point where it is clocking. It is the whole issue which is across the spectrum, from the grassroots level problems due to lack of equipments, facilities, to the issues which are, as I said, about how the matters are dealt in the court. So, together it really causes dependency in such a large scale. So, when we use technology, we will ensure that each point where the delay takes place will be taken care of. Secondly, we are also giving lots of support system to the judiciary. For example, the e-courts, the phase 3 is now just begun, and the government has already made the announcement in the budget of 7,000 crore for the e-court project.
Right.
That is to say that the future courts of India must be completely digital, which also means that Indian courts must go paperless.
Right.
For example, if somebody wants to file a matter in the Supreme Court, why should the person will have to come to Delhi itself? You can file the case from the location where you are. Supreme Court is the Supreme Court of India.
Right.
In a similar manner, we are also thinking of creating some kind of virtual courts in every district, virtual courts of the high courts. Now, for example, Jaipur High Court or the Jodhpur High Court. Jodhpur High Court is the principal bench and there is another bench at Jaipur. So, why would somebody will have to go to either Jaipur or Jodhpur to file the case in the High Court of Rajasthan? One can file from, one should be able to file from Udaipur also, from Bikaner also, from Kota also, from any Churu also, or any part of the Rajasthan. In the similar fashion, entire states and UTs of our country must be able to ensure that each district feels like they are as close to the High Court, the Judicature, as the location itself. So, I feel with lots of steps which we are taking, I am just giving you example, otherwise series of steps have been taken. It is a huge task, and my Department of Justice and the Supreme Court E-Committee are working in a close coordination, and we are very hopeful that in few months time we should be able to come out with a proper shape for the E-Courts phase 3 project.
Absolutely, sir. We'll all look forward to it. But I'll just shift focus to Arunachal Pradesh, the state you hail from, the constituency that you represent in the Lok Sabha. A very important development took place recently, which was that Home Minister Amit Shah ji launched the Vibrant Villages program. Sir, out of the 622 villages selected in the first phase, 455 are from your state. So, take me through the strategic importance of this move.
See, one has to understand that the Vibrant Villages program is a very deeply thought about program. Till 2014, all the villages which are bordering, close to the Indo-China border, or one can say Indo-Tibet border, those villages were almost away from the mainstream activities. There was a policy, the silent, of course, it is not a written policy, but there was a silent policy of all the previous governments not to develop the Indo-China border areas. Now, I will not elaborate because it is a strategic matter which I don't want to discuss about, but there was some kind of a consensus amongst the people who were there in the government that the Indo-China border cannot be totally opened up, or it cannot be properly connected with the basic infrastructure or modern infrastructure. When Modi ji became Prime Minister, this issue came up, and he had decided that this policy must be reversed. So, the massive road infrastructure and other necessary infrastructure projects have started since 2014. Now, if you see all the points to the border, right from Ladakh to Arunachal Pradesh, there is a complete transformation. I will just give you one example. When I was MOS home, I went to Gunji. So, in Gunji, our local people as well as our security forces like SSP, ITBP, Indian Army, they used to have mobile phone, but with the Nepal's SIM card. The SIM card belongs to companies which are based in Nepal. So, it was very unfortunate sight that Nepal is comparatively a very friendly neighboring country, yes, which is much smaller in economic size and other capacities due to its size. But we were totally relying on the Nepalese technologies and Nepalese infrastructure. So, now within from there next 4 or 5 years time, the entire road from Dharchula to Gunji and then the Kalapani and then the Lipu Lake, this has been constructed. This could have been done in the past also, but as I said, there was a lack of strong will to provide this kind of road infrastructure in the border areas. So, Modi ji has done it, and Arunachal is something, it's difficult to describe in words. Some of the locations in Arunachal were 15 days, 18 days on foot march. And now it is all connected. Hardly there is any border point which is disconnected with roads. Everywhere it is connected. Now, the improvisation, the widening of roads, along with proper 4G networks of telecom, proper power supply, water tap which is reaching to each household, the basic amenities which are necessary for human survival. These have been provided. Otherwise, the people from border area, they were continuously migrating towards the urban sides, towards the lower foothill side, which actually poses a great security challenges, because there's a complete thinning of population across the McMahon line, even in some of the areas in Uttarakhand, Himachal and Ladakh. But now things have changed. Now you can visit the last border area in Sikkim, Arunachal or Ladakh. It's a transformation going on. Now the vibrant village will ensure that the lifestyle, the quality of life of the border area will be as good as anywhere in the country, with all the basic amenities made available to them. So the Vibrant Villages program is a huge game changing program launched by Modi ji, and Home Minister Amit Shah ji himself went to Kibitu. It's a historical moment when Home Minister stayed there, spent nights, stayed with villagers and the security forces, and he launched the program formally from Kibitu, which was a major battlefield in 1962 India-China war.
Absolutely, sir. Sir, the importance of this program for other villages, because Arunachal, of course, being the case in point, 455 villages in the first phase.
Yeah. So, it's almost like 85% of the total villages are in Arunachal Pradesh, purely because Arunachal is the largest land area which has a bordering territory with the neighboring country. Arunachal borders with Myanmar in the east, China in the north and Bhutan in the west, and it's a long stretch, and the entire border area of Arunachal is dotted with habitations. There are villages, and it's a dense forest, high mountain ranges, deep gorge, huge rivers. The biggest rivers of the country are in Arunachal Pradesh, the Siang, which is the Brahmaputra, Lohi, Dibang, Subansiri, Kameng, Tawangchu, Yargyapchu. These are huge rivers. And then these important valleys and the hill ridges in Arunachal Pradesh, these are such a difficult topographical areas that it is not easy to penetrate. So by launching a special this Vibrant Village program, now there will be concentrated efforts to create a situation where you can say that there is a possibility of saturation of all the central government projects. So basically you are augmenting the all available resources, putting together all the central government and state government projects, and ensuring that these really changes the life of the people. Otherwise, in isolation, the programs on its own cannot reach out to those people. For example, you want to install a tower, microwave tower, but if you don't have a generator or a solar panel power generating system or a mini hydel project, you can run the installation whatever is there. So it has to be integrated. So once you install it, then there should be users also. So those equipments necessary for the people to use particular facility. So similar fashion, you have the roads. Then along the roads, you will construct, say, some pipelines or some cable network, something. So these are to be integrated, in a very, systematic manner. Otherwise, the developmental efforts on its own will collapse.
That's true.
So that is why this Vibrant Villages program is to integrate the entire spectrum of efforts into one point and to ensure that the quality of the people living in the border areas are improved.
Absolutely, sir. That's a very legit point that you're making. But, sir, you shared your vision with us, the opinion of the government. Thank you so much for that candid conversation.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Well, viewers, that's all I had for you in this edition. Thanks for watching and stay tuned to Sansad TV. Goodbye for now from my side.